Okay, so welcome to our new year, 2024. In fact, I have some 2024 glasses I was going to wear tonight, and I forgot. They're back there on the counter, so we'll just leave the jokes behind. Uh, so, John, how are you feeling for this new year, and what do you expect to get out of today's reading?
I'm feeling good overall. It's good to have a new year. There's something psychologically important about being able to say the old year is finished because it was a tough year in some ways, not easy at times. Um, Feeling concerned about the state of the world, but I know that concern does nothing. It's only if you focus on what you can do that you achieve anything. So looking forward to learning a bit more about Bucky. Looking forward to creating a great year for myself and my family and my friends, and hopefully making a contribution to the world in some way. So yes, quietly optimistic despite the American elections. Um, so, Anne, how are you feeling, and what do you hope to take out of today?
Yes, I feel I think actually I'm hopeful, I'm hopeful. Um, Disregarding what's going on around the world, but I think on the ground level, I think we do have everywhere around the world, there are level-headed people, and the decisions they're making is very different. The young people too, a lot of the decisions they're making is changing. I can see that. So yes, I'm very hopeful. And the fact that we are here discussing Buckminster Fuller and coming together to just toss out whatever we can and do whatever we can, I think, yeah, that's the space I'm coming from. Yeah. Actually, if you look at history, human beings have not been very nice. Yeah, in general, that's putting it mildly, right? We can be vicious, we can be really cruel, and that those people still exist today. But now, more and more people are also thriving. Yeah, even like Africa. When I visited Africa the first time in 1995, I think, and it was the tour guide kind of told us that Africa was called the bloody continent because they've been fighting like forever, tribes and so. So now, whenever I meet people who go to Africa, the fact that they're running businesses there and they're saying how it's thriving and the people are like really growing, and although we still have pockets of the blood diamonds and stuff like that, but in general, this is the first time I'm really hearing the past 10 years, I think that Africa is really thriving, and it's like one country after the other, including the countries that are really not known to be people centric, and yeah. So that's how I feel. And Steve, how do you feel, and what do you expect to take away today?
Well, I'm feeling pretty good, and I was feeling really good about the new year, John, and then you reminded me of our elections coming up this year. and
It's a circus.
suddenly a big cloud came over the sky.
Bucky would be disgusted.
Yeah. No, listen, there's some hope because Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has not been getting any real publicity here in the U.S., has started kind of a groundswell movement. And in fact, Utah, just this week, he got on the Utah ballot, which he's had to do he quit the Democratic Party and he's starting running as an independent. So now his job is to get on the ballots. And I can go into and show you a map, and I'm not really that much of an expert, but Utah was the first state in the union to require that people submit for a ballot. And so the Robert Kennedy group wasn't sure that they could get on in time, so they sued the state for an extension, and the state willingly granted them an extension. In spite of that, the Robert F. Kennedy group had twice as many signatures as needed to get on the ballots as were required by the deadline. So they got on the ballot by a factor of 2 without an extension. But he's got an uphill battle, and the more I hear of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., I hate to trust any human being to do anything they say, but I sure like the conversations coming out of his mouth. And so he's kind of notorious for being an anti-vaxxer, but if you talk to him and find out his family is vaccinated and he's vaccinated, and what he's against is big pharma, and he's suing big pharma. He's suing. he single-handed, well, not single-handedly, but he filed lawsuits against the companies around the Hudson River, which was at the time when he started back in the late 60s, was the most polluted river in America. It was spontaneously combusting, dead fish were floating up. And right now, this year, because of his movement and Pete Seeger and a whole bunch of other people, it's an example of a clean river. So there's hope. And I still can't believe the news when I hear what's going on with these Republicans and Democrats. It's just totally crazy what's going on. So I love the fact that we're reading Buckminster Fuller. He predicts most of this stuff, and in fact would probably roll over in his grave to find out that it's even gotten worse than he predicted.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I'm glad to be here, and we've got some pages down, and as long as we can, we're going to go with the Word document. I've got the PDF here standing by, but at the bottom of page 236 is where we're starting. If you're in the book, we're at the
Yes.
bottom of page 236, and I keep a long track with the book and the PDF file just to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. So here we go. And John, if you care to read,
Yes, happy to do
to
that.
rotate. So if you need a break, let us know.
Okay, sure.
All
So
right.
I'll start, shall I?
Yep, if you care to.
What the Russian strategists knew was that the presidents of the US universities, public or private, were sitting ducks for their psychological shooting. The university presidents of both private and state universities were primarily involved in the politics of raising funds for their institutions. The presidents had no internal defences because they had never had need for them. They found that neither the faculty nor the students knew much about the presidents, and that it would be very easy to attack their on-campus positions. They could effectively exaggerate any faults manifest by the presidents. Within 1 year, the presidents of 100 universities of America were shot down. None of them were defended by their faculties, whose numbers were scared to death of losing their tenure. The determination of the students to do their own thinking was readily exploited in attacking the university presidents. While all the foregoing curves of the rising and falling of the technical evolution of weaponry have taken place, there has also occurred, all unnoticed by all parties to the warfaring, a vast fallout from the defence technology into the domestic technology of ephemeralizations doing ever more with less. Within 2/3 of a century, this unnoticed and inadvertent fallout has converted 40% of total humanity from have-notness to a high standard of living have-ness, and makes clear that the only way all of humanity may be elevated to such advantage is by further acceleration of the technical invention revolution. It becomes evident that all of youth's world-around clamour for peace can only be realised through technological revolution, which will do so much more with so much less per each function, as ultimately to produce enough to support all of humanity. It is also clear that such a task can only be accomplished by the technical design revolution.
Let's pause right there, if we may.
Yep.
Where I thought he may talk about these university presidents, but the university presidents have come in the news in America in the last 12 months. Have you been tracking this?
Yes,
And
this is particularly the Jewish discrimination and the Palestinian.
Yeah. And the president of Harvard has resigned, and I think, or was fired, and the president of Philadelphia University resigned over their testimonies in Congress about the woke situation, where the students are just completely out of freaking control. And I wonder what he would have to say about that. But it's a little bit different, but it's still, he focuses on the campuses. And then he talks about this technical revolution, which Elon Musk and most people are saying now, this technical revolution that's going to occur over the next 5 to 10 years is going to make milestone changes in the world's economies. And in America, right now, several cities, and I think they did this in Australia, are testing universal basic income. Are they testing that in Australia, John?
I've heard a few people float it, but it hasn't got any real
You don't
track.
think it's been tested? It's been tested in a couple of cities in America, and everywhere it's been tested, it's worked. That people don't just become couch potatoes and sit on the couch. And with AI being the way it is, attorneys are going to be out of jobs, or else, John, you could fire all of your staff and just use AI. You'd only need a few staff to correct the AI and make sure it wasn't giving you a hallucination, right? But between AI and 3D printers, we're moving into this technology in such a major way. So I just thought that was worth commenting on. Any other comments or thoughts or questions on that?
Yeah, I was watching the the scandal, was it Harvard scandal?
Yeah.
With the celebrities and all that. And I couldn't believe the reasons they gave as to why, they were doing it. So so you're looking at parents who don't make sense. Yeah. And so they're expecting the children to come out making sense. But very often the children are the ones who actually can see that their parents are not making sense. But the one that I saw was the Asians, the buy-in of the Asians, and the ones who also who thought that that their life there's nothing in their lives if they can't get into these Ivy League universities, right? It's like done. They're crying and as though it's the death of something major. So it's really, really difficult to watch something like that, because all of us know that doesn't make sense, right? And the entire life revolves around that as the center point. And now they don't have it. They don't know what to do. Wow.
And a big thing in America, Anne, is that all of these affirmative action programs have been thrown out of the Supreme Court said that the affirmative action is unconstitutional. And then since then, there's a big thing on DEI, diversity, equity, and
inclusion.
And that's coming under fire. And the big test case was at Harvard was that Asians were being discriminated against because of the affirmative action programs. And so, wow, everything is like somebody smashed all the ping pong balls were on the table and somebody bounced the table and all the balls are floating. We're just in crazy times here. Yeah.
Yeah. And the big issue is this, because and it's the big universities, the one that's leading, like the best universities in the world, especially with the rankings and all that, right? They're the ones driving that only a certain group of people can succeed. Right. That's just my issue with universities, and even all the way down to K-12, because there is a school in KL. They select students, after high school to go into high school, right? And even after high school to go into the matriculation, and they're selecting the kids. And then they actually mentioned our school and another big school, which is under this massive developer in KL, the Sunway Group. Sunway, they've got like 8 verticals of businesses, and each one of them are all multi-billion-dollar businesses, right? They actually mentioned their school and ours, but it was an honor because they, like us, are doing many things right about education, right? However, what happened was this particular school was telling some China agents that they are very serious about education, unlike some schools naming the other developer school and ours, that we are not serious because anybody who can pay, we take them in. Okay.
Because anybody what?
Who can pay can get a place.
We take in whoever can pay. So we're not serious because we were not selective of our students. But what is the job of an educator is to educate every child to make sure they'll succeed regardless of which careers they choose and whether they're strong or not academically, so that they can go out there and be successfully functioning at a highest level in society, regardless of whatever they do, whether they're taking on the job of a mechanic. And mechanics, you can be a high level one working with Porsche or BMW and so on and so forth. But it's just a way of thinking, and that's from the teaching faculty who said things like that. So I was told that because there was a parent who was with this agent because they wanted to see a sampling of schools in Kuala Lumpur, right? And it is so unacceptable. So, and we know And there was a college I used to work in, and they did the same thing. You know, you select students in certain programs, they put the best in there, and so they get the best results. And so there's a lot of manipulation in that in that manner. So that's why I went into education, because it just wasn't making any sense.
Well, congratulations on being included in a category of schools, but it sometimes is better to stay under the radar, but because now they see you. And you guys have heard about how somebody did a survey on freedom of speech in the top 50 universities in America, and Harvard had a minus score. It was the lowest. It was the 50th college rated for freedom of speech. In fact, it had a minus score. I mean, the education system in America is freaking upside down.
Yeah,
Correct.
I think it's all over the world, though. You know, it's all over the world, because it tends to be a very, like, those of us who want to move it forward, it becomes a bit difficult, because there's a lot of I think people are very protective of their turf. You know, very, very protective of their turf. And there was something that I spoke about to a friend of mine, is what university should be doing, because one of my business mentors was talking about the importance of networking, right? Getting kids to network. And the universities don't, they actually silo the students, especially in Asia, yeah? And Asians are even worse, because I have students studying engineering in Asian universities, not just in Malaysia, and those that went to the UK or some of the other countries. And the ones in Asia were complaining that they cannot build anything. They've spent 4 years doing engineering, and none of them can build anything. Well, I was like, what? And they're coming out working. And then I have one of my teachers who went to UK, especially when they go overseas to the Western countries. They said that, oh, they can build. You know, they had the capacity to build, but not the ones that came from, not just our country. I was talking to students studying in about 3 or 4 different countries. You know, so anyway, so coming back to the precedents, yes, there's a lot of flag there, and I can see. And the other thing also, I think in a lot of universities in US, tenure is really difficult to get, correct? Yeah. Because I met a lady who's a professor. She's a lecturer in, I think, the university in New Hampshire, one of the universities. I won't name the university. And she said they can't get tenure.
Yeah.
So,
And I know there's a guy, Brett Weinstein, and some other guys who actually had tenure, but because of life threats, they quit. They were forced out of the college because they couldn't even walk through the parking lot without somebody threatening them with a baseball bat.
because they have tenure and others don't.
Say what?
They're threatened because they have tenure and others don't.
They even had tenure, and still they had to leave the school because of political pressure, because this guy was basically teaching evolutionary biology with respect to the Israelis and the Palestinians, for example, and trying to talk about what was really going on and how both sides were doing bad stuff. And there are certain people who don't want to hear that both sides are doing bad stuff. It's just crazy. Wow, we live in a crazy time.
Yes, I read the book by Thomas Friedman, and he's in the book. The title of the book is From Beirut to Jerusalem. You know, it was really powerful. It was like such an eye opener. And yes, I can see exactly what both sides have been doing, and why even one side doesn't even want the peace. They don't want peace.
They don't want peace at all. It's very difficult. Wow, what a crazy time. What Buckminster Fuller would say about all this. Okay, are we ready to proceed?
Yep.
Thank you, John, if you're ready.
I will, just 1 second till I find my spot. As those many who have become involved in the new invisible warfaring discover that their aims can be attained only through the design revolution, all the young world-around idealists will have to face up to the question of whether they prefer to keep on agitating simply because they've come to enjoy a sense of power and importance by so doing, all who are really dedicated to the earliest possible attainment of economic and physical success for all humanity, and thereby realistically to eliminate war, will have to shift their efforts from the political arena to participation in the design revolution. The latter course involves the development of ever self-regenerating and improving scientific and technical competence. In turn, this means that the individual must plunge earnestly and dedicatedly into initiating self-development using the resources of the educational system.
Amen to that. Go ahead.
All the aforementioned Class 1 evolutionary trending provides powerful long-distance prognostication data, keeping track of the integrated ephemeralization and acceleration trends and their socioeconomic resultants per each world human, made possible my 1938 9 Chains to the Moon and my 1950 magazine published prognostication that by 2000 AD, all humanity either would be enjoying a higher, but generally unfamiliar standard of living than any humans had ever known, or would have already perished. This book has already mentioned many of these Class 1 evolutionary trendings. In naval science, we have 4 scientifically developed prognosticating arts. In my own semantic formulating, prognosticating is both subjective and objective. Subjective, if I don't do anything, such and such will happen. Objective, if I do so and so, such and such will happen. Pure science means setting in order the facts of experience and therefrom deducing generalized principles if and when they are manifest. Applied science means the development of technological procedures for objective employment of a plurality of the generalized principles. Art means the skillful realization of humanly satisfying or challenging special case applications of the theoretical schemes of applied science. Shall we stop and analyze that?
Yeah, let's do. Any comments or questions there?
I think he's saying that there are many young people who are doing what they're doing for power and an ego trip. But if they are intelligent, they'll realise the only way to achieve a higher standard of living is to work together using science and development of new ideas and products.
Yeah. Now, have you guys heard about the conversation between what are called the effective altruists versus the effective accelerator philosophies?
No.
This is a strange thing that's going on, but there, let me think if I can think. Oh, the guy who was with the Bitcoin, who just went to prison, was it FTX? This guy was what was called an effective altruist. The idea of effective altruism is, look, I could go be a doctor in Africa, or I can go on Wall Street and make $1 billion, and then I can hire 100 doctors to work in Africa. This is effective altruism. And when it can go to an absurd, because I could like help a lot of people by polluting, which is, I build a business, I pollute, I make one area sick, but I'm helping a whole bunch more people. And if you look at the dollar effect right now today, helping the people is really cool, but the fact is I'm depleting my bank of resources. This is effective altruism. That's the argument against it. There's another, the counterpart to this has been effective acceleration. These are the guys who are in AI, and they're saying, look, we don't need to be afraid of AI. Let's put it out there. Let's make it grow as fast as possible, because science, the new science the AI is going to bring us, is going to give us ways to solve problems we've never thought of before. So there's your two camps, and it's kind of interesting that I wonder where Buckminster Fuller would fall in the middle of this conversation. Any other thoughts or comments? Okay.
Press on.
Well, let's press on.
we're just under critical path, is that right?
Yeah, we're
Yep.
just at
The
238.
number one naval prognosticating science and art is that of designing and producing the generalized tools, machine tools, that when housed and assembled in navy yards or floating dry docks, can produce both macro and micro special case tools, with both the generalized and special case tools operative at degrees of dimensional controls beyond that of human sight, at temperatures above and below humans' organic tolerance, at weights and sizes beyond human muscle maneuverability, at electromagnetic frequencies beyond the range of human optical or tactile tunability or tolerance, at quantation, determination and integration of metallurgical and chemical formulations in temperature and pressure regions beyond humans' direct sensory of apprehending control. The number two naval prognosticating science and art is that in which, employing the number one prognosticating science and art tools, we design fleets of ships and special case ships and other special case tools as a complex of intersupportive technology capable of coping with nature's condition at the interface of sea and sky, while travelling on, over or under the seas to any part of the world reachable by
Say, John,
yes.
shall we?
Yep. So,
I think you're at right over here. If you need a
yeah,
break.
I think no, we're right. Hang on. Intersupportive technology. Okay. Other special case tools as a complex of intersupportive technology capable of coping with nature's conditions at the interface of sea and sky, while travelling on, over, or under the seas to any part of the world reachable by the deep waters continuum, to 3/4 of all the surface of planet Earth, with the sea transport capability of integrating the world's remotely occurring, unique and intercomplementary physical resources, and with the ability to protect such sea commerce against any and all pirates or others hostile to class 2 evolutionary phenomena. Interesting this week, of course, with the Houthis.
Exactly.
The number 3 naval prognosticating science and art is that of celestial navigation, which permits us to reliably prognosticate the arrival of our ship anywhere around the world at such and such an hour and on such and such a date. The number 4 naval prognosticating science and art is that of ballistics, the art and science of controlling the trajectory of an explosively hurled missile. Ballistics is divided into 2 parts, interior and exterior. Interior ballistics deals with all the controllable variables governing the trajectory of the gun's explosively hurled missile, which controllable variables are operative before the gun is fired. Exterior ballistics deals with all the controllable variables operative after the gun is fired. These controllable interior and exterior ballistics variables altogether govern the trajectory of the gun's explosively hurled missiles.
Let's pause just for a second there.
Mm.
It's too bad that Joe isn't with us right now, because he actually is a civilian contractor for naval defense systems, and he would have something to say about this. The other thing is that I've recently read, and I think I've mentioned it here, there was an article done where they used a quantum computer to manage the unload a port in Miami. Somebody bought it for $10 million, put a quantum computer on it, and figured out how to tell all those cranes, anticipating when the boats were going to arrive and when the trucks were going to arrive, and made that thing so efficient. They bought it for something like $10 million and sold it for like $1 billion or 200 million. I mean, and this is exactly what he's talking about in terms of prognostication and the ability of technology to manage, multiple inputs and outputs simultaneously. So that's an interesting thing. The other thing is that I just saw a movie where they use smart bullets, where, he could be metaphorically talking about shooting a shell out of a cannon, but they now have got computerized heads on these bullets that can adjust the path like every 10 milliseconds or something. It does something to change its course. And in this one thing, the bullet actually kind of almost went around a corner to get to its target because the target continued to move. So, my gosh, we're seeing today exactly what he's talking about here. So that blows me away. Part of me wants to get a link to that movie and put it in the thing. I think I saw it on Netflix. Anyway, if you want to see smart bullets. Anyway. All right. So I'm complete. Any other comments or discussions?
I'd rather see smart growth of crops and feeding people.
Yeah. Well, I have an article on that too. What they're
Yeah.
doing with CRISPR, you know. But go ahead.
Yeah.
So where am I up to?
I think we're up to interior ballistics variables, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah, correct.
Interior ballistics variables include the design of the gun, its bore, its length, its metallurgy, its expansion and contraction in changing temperatures and similar factors. Interior ballistics is also concerned with the design of the missile itself, with the gunpowder to be used and with the temperature of that powder. The interior variables are exhaustively studied, scientifically recorded and controlled. The exterior ballistics variables relate to the direction and velocity of the winds blowing between the firing ship and the target ship. The exterior ballistics variables include all weather conditions. They are concerned with the course and speed of the gun firing ship, as well as of the target ship. The exterior ballistics variables are numerous, but not as numerous as the interior design variables. The exterior ballistics variables include the information regarding the relative accuracy of the previously fired missile and the swiftly calculated corrections to bring the trajectory onto the target.
I want to say one more thing here. This
Yep.
was in 85, and my stepdad, as I've told you, developed was at General Dynamics developing the ballistics missile, and that is sitting back there on my wall right there. There it is. That's that tall thing right there is the ICBM, the General Dynamics Atlas missile. He used to work at Northrop Aircraft and helped develop the Snark missile, and then went to General Dynamics and developed the IBM. Anyway, that was in 1959, 1963. This book was written in 85. So he is talking about bullets. He probably is talking about bullets. So anyway, there we go. I think we're at naval gunnery, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
in
good.
naval gunnery, in the pre-computer days, large charts containing titles and spaces for all the known variable data of both interior and exterior ballistics were printed. These charts were laid out and tacked to a great table in the plotting room in the most structurally protected positions within the bowels of the ship. All the interior ballistics data was corrected when any of its data changed and was immediately entered onto the chart. There was no use entering any exterior ballistics data until the enemy ship was located, after which all the up-to-the-minute and second changing data of the exterior ballistics were entered onto the charts. When all the data was in, complex mathematical integration of the data took place, and the proper angles of elevation and horizontal compass orientation of the guns themselves were arrived at. Guns were, at first individually, then coordinatedly, aimed at the target ship by both horizontal and vertical angle controls, being separately and continuously human eye and hand aimed at the target ship by easily spun hand wheels geared to power-driven equipment that kept the big guns in constant adjustment to the rolling, pitching and yawning of the firing ship. I've lost my track. The rate of changing of interior ballistics data was, and as yet is, very slow compared to the rate of change of the data of exterior ballistics. As a naval officer, I was once concerned with all those matters. I became gradually interested in the possibility that all the variables involved in naval ballistics might be identified with all the variables operative in the most complex problems of the universe. I intuited that the combined sciences of navigation and ballistics might embrace all the variables governing universe event prognostication. It could be that 1, Navy Yard industrialisation, 2, fleet operation and individual ship design, 3, astronavigation, and 4, ballistics constituted the 4 special case corner complexes of a generalised tetrahedral complex of variable design factors governing all human mind controllable participation in all cosmic alternative intertransforming potentials. It was eminently clear that astronomy, enormously advantaged by Newton's mass inter-attraction law, having acquired comprehensive data regarding the ever-changing interpositioning of celestial bodies, groups of bodies and galaxies of bodies, was extremely successful in prognosticating for many years, centuries and millennia, ahead of the relative interpositioning of all known celestial bodies to split-second accuracy almost anywhere within millions of light years around and away from Earth. We could say that the more commonly diagnosed, we could say that the more cosmically comprehensive the consideration, the more accurate the prognosticating. I have therefore decided to always include the most macro, cosmically inclusive data in all my prognosticating. Obviously, this is not crystal balling nonsense, but a very elegantly inclusive and incisive integration of the 4 naval sciences and arts of prognosticating. Quite clearly, the 4 special case design systems of the naval sciences and art can be generalised to accommodate the realisation of all the objective initiatives of humanity. The 4-cornered tetrahedron is the minimum structural system in universe. It excludes all the irrelevant information of universe and includes all the information relevant to the system. The tetrahedral structure system has 6 unique interrelationships existing among the system's 4 unique groups of system variables. We have also mentioned elsewhere in this book and in other books the differentiation between craft and industrial tools. Craft tools are all the tools that can be invented and produced by one individual alone in the wilderness, such as spears, bows, arrows, pottery, baskets, etc. Whereas the industrial tools are all the tools that cannot be produced by the individual. I don't know.
Where are we?
That's right here now. Because it takes 2 humans to produce the need to communicate and to invent the means of that communication, we say that the spoken word was the first industrial tool. In the beginning of industrialisation, i.e. technologically effective human cooperation, was the word. The spoken and comprehended word greatly expedited the development of humanity's information on how to cope with life's challenges. The 4 naval sciences and arts make it possible for us to sort out the human capabilities provided by Class 1 evolution, developed industrialisation as a human cooperative inter-advantaging system. Differentiated from all the illusory propaganda of industrialisation's exploitation by exclusively monetary profit-motivated business. Sorry, I'm having a hard time. Where are we? Okay. Our Legally Piggly chapter clearly recounts the manner in which business took over industrialisation for its own special case self-advantaging. See this Time magazine item of August 6, 1979 to clarify the aptness of the word piggly. Those record oil company profits. With memories of long gasoline lines still fresh, the earnings reported by many oil companies last week could hardly be expected to be greeted by cheers. All told, the industry had its second best quarter ever. Profits of the 23 biggest US firms totaled $5.47 billion, a rise of 66% over the same period last year. Among the 5 large international companies, Texaco's earnings leapt by 132% to $365 million US. Earnings of the others, Exxon up 20% to 830 million, Mobile up 38% to 404 million, SoCal up 61% to 412 million, and Gulf up 65% to 291 million. These guys came on top of strong earnings in the first quarter. For the first half, the combined profits of the five giants came to 4.6 billion, or an increase of 49% over the same period last year.
And this year, this was a small print, kind of like insert in there, and he's kind of quoting the news. But I'm sure that those are probably trillions of dollars now. I think I just heard something about global U.S. Or the big countries, which the big oil companies are in the trillions of dollars, not just millions, at least billions. So I'm sure these are these are 25-year-old figures. So anyway, cool. Then he says, see also page 401 of the chronology of in Appendix 2, and I'm sure he's referring to the back of the book.
Yeah. The strictly government-operated NASA Apollo project, its Cape Canaveral blast-off base in Florida, its Mission Control Center in Houston, Texas, its design and theory development base in Alabama, and its administration headquarters in Washington, D.C., employed businesses' industrial facilities, but was a human endeavour cooperating project. It held at bay any importantly diverting manifests of selfishness, even among its dramatically publicised astronauts. Their individual names have faded into a dim admixture of identities, omni-sublimated by the magnificent contribution of humanity's industrially cooperative capability to accomplish history's most imaginatively impossible, scientifically possible feat, rocky ferrying of humans over to the moon and returning them safely back to on board our spaceship Earth. We now directly address the accomplishing by humanity of a less visually dramatic but far more difficult task, that of rendering comprehensively and eternally successful a failure-prone, competitively greedy, selfishly wasteful, fearful, and selfishly wasteful, fearful, and inferiority-conditioned humanity, and of doing so in a decade. Starting in 1927, 53 years ago, I developed an as comprehensive possible inventory of relevant scientific and industrial data and set about making systemically scientific prognostications regarding trends affecting our spaceship Earth and all its passengers. This attempted science prognosticating involved the comprehensive inventory of resources aboard our spaceship Earth. These resources broke down into all the energy associative as matter and all the energy disassociative as radiation. The metaphysical resources broke down into the inventory of generalized principles and all the inventory of special case knowledge considerations. To ensure that I was comprehensively adequate in dealing with cosmic scale prognosticating, I undertook in 1927 and thereafter to discover and scientifically aggressively To ensure that I was comprehensively adequate in dealing with cosmic scale prognosticating, I undertook in 1927 and thereafter to discover and scientifically demonstrate nature's own mathematical coordinate system. I had intuitively initiated that search in 1899 at the age of 4. This latter search and its successful discovery of that cosmic coordination system is...
Hang on, we're going to go find it because I think I just screwed up. I pasted something in twice. So we're going to page 241 in the book. And here is page 242. So here's page 241. And
Oh, that's a bit better. It was a bit small.
yeah, it was way too small. And so now we want to get to, oh, come
We've
on,
been through the first bit, yep.
hang on. This is what I don't like about my PDF reader.
Mm-hmm.
So 248, we're going to 241. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pardon me for the delays, guys. I'll do a better job next week.
That's all right. You do the work. Thank you.
Well, okay, 245, we're almost there. Okay, 244. Wow. Okay, this is close because that's in the next page. Okay. Wow. I think this should be it here. Sorry for going so slowly. I'm just afraid if I go fast, I'll have to come back the other direction. Okay, this is page 242. We're on page 241.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there we go. And that's Spaceship Earth, where we just left off. I think that's the Spaceship Earth. Let me make sure. Well, there's Spaceship Earth, and we came down to ensure. There it is, to ensure comprehension, and the ladder search and its successful discovery of all that cosmic coordination system is, and we get to the next page. So now there we go. Treated. Go ahead, Joe.
Spaceship Earth. We now directly address the accomplishing by humanity. What happened then?
Yeah, we're at treated.
So,
We're on page 242.
yeah, I know.
Okay.
Okay. Treated with both.
See, this is where we were. We were at the ladder search and its successful discovery of that cosmic coordination system is. That's what it was right here at the bottom of this page. And so now if we come down here and we go to the next page, we can finish that sentence. This ladder search and its successful discovery of that cosmic coordination system is, there we go, treated.
With both comprehensively and incisively in my 2-volume Synergetics, each volume about 800 pages. All those who would like to understand the relatively high accuracy of my prognosticating science will find it necessary to become students of those 2 volumes of Synergetics. They make clear that I have found a method of guaranteeing that my prognostications include all relevant variables. For those who do not have time to study Synergetics or my books such as 9 Chains to the Moon, I will point out such studies as my 760-year-long chart of the chemical element isolations by humans. Yep.
We're right there. Element isolations by humans.
Yeah. Humans, which discloses the interrelationship of pure science with technical science as applied to world encircling, human protecting and transporting, environment controls, and the accelerating evolution, the acceleration in human evolution that is undeniably discloses. In 1942, I sought a means of discovering whether any regular rate of occurrence of scientific events existed. I, of course, discovered that the relative importance of a suitable cut and classification of the events into pure and not so pure science events had first to be accomplished. As I started to do so, I immediately realized that there was one single pre-science set of events that belonged to one family. That is the history of human scientists' progressive isolation of the family of 92 regenerative chemical elements, a family of exactly and successively numbered.
Successively numbered members.
Okay. Yeah. members whose membership qualifications could not be confused, 1 electron, 1 proton, 2 electrons and 2 protons. I decided to make a chart of the isolation plotted against time. The first known isolation by a human, that of arsenic, occurred in Italy in 1250 AD. So I designed my chart to be 760 years long, running from 1250 AD to 2010 AD. I made my chart high enough to accommodate 20 post-uranium isolation should any occur. 1 year after I made and posted my chart, the first post-uranium element was isolated. The last of the first 92 to be isolated, promethium, chemical element 61, was not discovered until 1954, 12 years after I designed and posted the chart. The pre-uranium element isolations did not occur without regularity. I planned the designing of my 760-year-long chart in such a manner that vertical room was left for.
Sorry, that's the problem with this thing. Go ahead.
I read that.
I know. I just went down to the next page. You're down in here somewhere.
I planned the designing of my 760-year-long chart in such a manner that vertical room was left for 112 horizontal steps, so that as each element became isolated, the position of it went one step higher. When history opens, humans had already at some earlier times isolated and put to use 9 chemical elements. Nobody has any idea how, when, and where the isolations of carbon, lead, tin, mercury, silver, copper, sulfur, gold, and iron occurred. They were found already in use in different parts of the world when humans first made record of the fact long before 1250 AD. Because 9 isolations had already occurred, I started plotting my chart, 9 steps.
And then we got to go down here. Hang on. Oh, good grief. Hang on. The chart on my PDF file broke into 2 files. So we're gonna skip it for now. Here's the thing where we go along for 1,000 years with here's arsenic and 1250, and then it goes along, and then here's the next antimony, and it goes along. But the second page, it goes up dramatically, and all of a sudden, the second half of the chart goes up dramatically, step by step by step, and this is where his inventions are somewhere in here. His predictions are somewhere in here, and I didn't chart them out, so I don't know.
No,
but
that's it.
Hang on a second. Okay, so I'm having trouble with my mouse. I really probably should. I went in to get my cursor fixed, and I'm beyond warranty, so I'm lumping it. So anyway, there's the 9 steps in that chart someplace, and then we can finish his statement when we get to the next page. And I don't want to go too fast. Thanks for being patient as I nudge down. There we go. Crap.
Okay, your fair.
All right, here we are. Are we at the top? No, we're not yet at the top. See, that's the trouble with this, is I can't.
Yeah, we haven't done any of this shit, I don't think.
Yeah, exactly right. Oh my gosh, it's up further than I thought. Okay, there we go. 9 steps high.
Right, yeah. I posted arsenic, chemical element number 33 on the 10th step. The next isolation came 200 years later, chemical element number 51, antimony. This was followed by a 220-year hiatus running to 1670, when science isolated.
I'm so sorry. This is where.
Chemical element number 15, phosphorus. Another 62-year lag brought us to the isolation of chemical element number 27, cobalt, in 1732, and later in the same year, element number 78, platinum. Thereafter, they arrived at an average rate of 1 every 2 years. The rate accelerated markedly for the next 40 years until element number 5, boron, was isolated. During those 40 years, 31 other elements were isolated. Between boron in 1810 and gallium, element number 31, there is a slowing down in the rate, with 17 more elements being isolated. Between gallium and europium, chemical element number 63, another 12 were isolated. There is a very steady rate of acquisition by humans of the next 5 isolated chemical elements, from europium to polonium, element number 84. Then there's a marked slowing down of the rate of isolation from actinium, number 89, to rhenium, number 75. In the isolation of the next 5 elements, technetium, number 43, to plutonium, number 94, there is an almost vertical rate of isolating, all 5 isolations taking place during 1930, 1931, although not announced until years later. Between 1932 and 1969, 10 elements were isolated. From curium, element number 96, to lawrencium, element number 103. The 103 successive
Isolation.
Not only is there a very steady rate of climb of these transuranium element isolations, but all of them are successively isolated in the order of their successive atomic numbers, whereas none of the pre-uranium, before element 92, isolations occur by their successive numbers. What we have been witnessing is a series of accelerations and slowdowns. The acceleration always occur in peacetime and the slowdowns in wartime.
Wow.
In wartime, the military uses what the scientists developed in peacetime. Quite clearly, the purest of pure science activity, chemical element isolating, occurs under peaceful conditions.
That's nice to know.
This whole 760-year curve of pre-science isolations is altogether a curve of acceleration against calendar time. I then recall that what pure science does today does not get into the academic curricula for a few years. A few years later, again, applied science makes special case objective use of the pure science finding as some invention. Use of the invention by industry begins to alter the environment of the everyday happenings. The altered environment calls for an evolutionary advancement of everyday human life. I then said to myself that history makes it clear that environmental advances alter lifestyles and introduce new economic eras. Because environmental technology advancements embodying the technical advancements are clearly implemented by pure science's discoveries. And
did I move that too fast?
I think we lost it. At discoveries and the altered environments introduce new eras in human experience, I asked myself to isolate out from all other inventing of history the unique stages of human advantaging environment controls that made it possible for humans to thrive under conditions in which the humans would, but for the new environment control, perish, and from within the uniquely advanced the lifestyle within the environment, accomplish controls of energies operating outside the environment control, and therewith propel the environment controlling device and its human occupants in one occupant-controlled complete circuit of the Earth. Along the top of the chart in 1520, we see how Magellan used a sailing vessel in which he went most of the way around the world before he was killed. His crew completed the circumnavigation, which took 2 years. 350 years later, humans circumnavigated the globe in a steel steamship. 75 years later, they circumnavigated in a special alloy aluminium aeroplane. 35 years later, they circumnavigated in an exotic metals rocket. The wooden sailing ship took 2 years to circumnavigate, the steel steamship 2 months, the aluminium aeroplane took 2 weeks, and the exotic metals rocket capsule took only a little over 1 hour to encircle the planet Earth. In the successive circumnavigation arts, no one at each successive stage could dream of the next stage of circumnavigation. We have on this chart the curve of the basic acceleration of science accomplishments as plotted against time. We have on the chart a second-degree acceleration manifest in the contraction of the lags between the successive circumnavigation from 350 years to 65 to 30 years between four states of the art of communication, and a third-degree acceleration manifest in the contraction of time taken to circumnavigate from 2 years to 2 months to 2 weeks to 1 hour. It is implicit in the rate of contraction between completely inconceivable later arts that by 1985 we should be able to transmit humans around the globe by radio scanning or an equivalently unexpected means. Well, hasn't
Well, he's
happened.
talking about the Star Trek, what the heck was that? Transporter, right?
Yeah.
If we're going to be by radio scanning, I think he's talking about a transporter. That's crazy.
Yeah.
He's sure thinking ahead.
Sure was. For those who wish to gain only a cursory concept of my prognosticating, I point to my 53-year maintained curves of ephemeralization, as manifest in a number of charts. For instance, the one recording the annually decreasing pounds per delivered horsepower of aircraft engines. The 10th anniversary issue of Fortune magazine, February 1940, has an article I prepared on industrialization, in which many charts of ephemeralization in various technologies are shown. In such comprehensive surveying of human experience and the lessons.
Oh, sorry. There we go.
We have learned, it became progressively clearer that humans were given their minds to discover generalized principles and to employ those principles objectively in special case technologies. This led me to assume that the class 2 evolution was a designed in, but sometimes not to be terminated phase of class 1 evolution. It seemed logical as humans progressed from absolute ignorance, learning only by trial and error, that they would go through a very long period of doing all the right things for all the wrong reasons. Quite clearly, nature did not tell
Do I need to rotate there? Yeah, tell you.
what nature told humanity chromosomically was, I'm hungry, my kids are hungry, I'm cold, my kids are cold. Go after that food and that coat. They cost money, go after money. They say you have to earn it. Okay, I'll earn it. Buzz, buzz, honey, money, bee. No human chromosomes say make the world work for everybody. Only mine can tell you that. In support of the integrity of ecology's complex regeneration of life on planet Earth, Class 1 evolution first designed all the vegetation to photosynthetically, syntropically, convert the random occurring entropic sun radiation into highly orderly molecular structures, which are consumed by other orderly molecular proliferating biological organisms.
Okay, I'm underscribing notes over here. Where are we? Do I need to move down for you?
Just 1 second.
Comment about what
the syntropic complex of ecological interactions not only made possible the gradual conduct of human society by mind instead of by cunning and muscle, but also led to human minds consciously acting as local in-universe information harvesters and local in-universe problem solvers, all in support of the integrity of eternally regenerative universe.
I found it to be kind of interesting up there in that previous paragraph that ends, no human chromosomes say make the world work for everybody. Only mind can tell you that. I think that's a profound little quote, I think.
It is now, it is.
I'm going to make sure that gets into my book, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's really cool. Differentiate between mind and brain, because most people don't make that differentiation. Okay, good.
I think we were down, I'd been to All in Support of the Integrity of Eternally Regenerative Universe. It seemed that the time would come evolutionarily when humans might have acquired enough knowledge of generalized principles to permit a graduation from class 2, entropically selfish evolution, into class 1, syntropically cooperative evolution, thereafter making all the right moves for all the right reasons. This book should make it quite evident that I think humanity has now reached that critical moment of potential transformation of humans' affairs from class 2 evolution into class 1 evolution. Assuming that to be so, we look upon Legally Piggly, see chapter 3, as the last and highest.
Hang on. Okay.
Last and highest tide of doing all the wrong things for the unknown right reasons, just before reaching the condition of all of humanity having acquired enough of the right information to graduate from class 2 evolutionary entropic nonsense into consciously competent syntropic participation in class 1's eternally intertransforming evolution in support of the integrity of cosmic scenario universes, eternal regeneration. Prognostication is often a subjective science. It anticipates what is going to happen to us. Navigation and ballistics are always objective sciences, for they make possible prognostication of what will happen if we employ the full family of mathematically integratable factors governing local systemic intertransformabilities as permitted by the generalized principles, which always provide 6 alternative moves with every turn to play in the game of universe. These permitted 6 moves for each turn to play are the 6 edges of the tetrahedral system and are clearly explained in Synergetics Volume 2, 537.4. Class 1 evolution has succeeded in ever increasing the range, frequency, and safe velocity of human travel, exploration, and information growth. Further, humans have developed environment controlling vehicles and local environment controlling habitats that permit their survival under conditions uncopable with prior to the technological evolution. All these are resultant upon human minds being given access to the generalized principles governing the design of the successfully operating eternally regenerative scenario universe. These space programs entered into by the Russians and the Americans, because of the military implications of possible containment of one by the other, were class 2 evolutionary events. However, they opened the possibility for humanity to participate consciously in class 1 evolution's continual increase in the range, speed, and frequency of humanity's travel and information gathering. Did
I just throw you off?
No, it's all right. There's too much going on in my head at the moment. The space program integrated the sciences of navigation, ballistics, astrophysics, metallurgy, chemistry, and bioanthropology. Bioanthropology is the positive class 1 evolution's anticipatorily undertaken improvement of both subjective and objective, energetic, environmentally controllable events in order to keep already healthy life even healthier, whether in safely penetrating environments, therefore lethally hostile to human life, or in such.
Or in just improving.
The chances for the healthiest to continue their optimum health, or in multiplying the numbers of humans who enjoy optimum health, working eventually toward avoiding any humans ever losing their optimum health. Bioanthropology is class 1 evolution's takeover and expansion of class 2 evolution's medicine, which copes essentially only with humans who have lost their good health. The space program, as an integration of the plurality of projective objective sciences, called for the employment of what is known as the critical path, as the comprehensive design scientists, individual parts and productions, subassembly, general assembly, progressive full assembly, testings, and launch scheduling.
Hang on. Go.
A critical path develops an exhaustive list of all that has to be accomplished in order to arrive successfully at a given objective heretofore never reached. The Apollo project was the official name of the undertaking that was to ferry humans over to and land them on the moon and return them safely to Earth, spaceship Earth. The critical path organisation of the Apollo project disclosed some 2 million tasks that had to be successfully accomplished before the human astronauts were to be returned safely to spaceship Earth. NASA's Apollo management then put a scientifically and technically competent control group to work to identify all the approximately 2 million tasks, 1 million of which required technological performances, the design, production, and successful operation of which had never before been undertaken by humans. In this book, we've set down our prehistory, our techno-social history of humans in the universe, and then in the Legally Piggly chapter, we have chronicled the overall pattern of Class II evolutionary events that have during the past.
Oh, correct. Oh my gosh.
Where am I?
Oh, geez. I have my computer is malfunctioning. I have a pen here, a stylus, that should help me control it.
Okay.
And I'm not sure where it is right now. So let me try and find where we were
You were
here.
at the bottom of this page, Steve. The page we're
Okay.
on, right? I think we've just read that last paragraph. The space program as an integration.
All right, we read that paragraph and end up with launch scheduling, right?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, there we go.
A critical path develops an exhaustive list of all that has to be accomplished in order to arrive successfully at a given objective, theretofore never reached.
Oh, we've read this.
Yeah, we read that.
Yeah,
Right.
you got to go down to the third paragraph that says,
Yeah,
go back up. That's
Hang on a second. 247. And then we go to the next page. There we go.
No, we haven't. Oh, yes.
we've
No,
done, and it's the third paragraph. It's the third paragraph. In this book, we have set up
come up a
prehistory
bit, Steve, come up a bit.
history.
Say again, John.
We've read the first two, and I think the third paragraph. Come up a bit. Hey, I've got to go and get my power lead. My computer's about to shut down.
Yeah, mine is going crazy too.
Got to move the page up, Steve.
I'm gonna attempt to do that.
Yep.
I just have lost my mouse
Oh,
is the problem. Oh my gosh, now I'm clear top of the book.
it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we understand.
Find. Oh, good grief. We might have to just terminate this because for some reason I even rebooted my computer to do what I can to avoid this problem. Find. Well, I'm not even getting a find out of here. Yeah, see if I can.
Right.
Stop
I'm back.
sharing.
I have power. I have water.
My computer is not cooperating with me at all. I think it might be important to, unless somebody has a copy they can run on their end. Oh, good grief.
I'll have to search for it, Helena.
Yeah, we might need to terminate this. I'm attempting to load in my email, which usually gives me an opportunity to reset my cursor. So hang on a second. But it's taking longer than normal to do that. It's blinking at me. I'm okay, hang on. It's starting to act semi-normal.
Do you want me to share?
Do you have a copy of the book?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Please do.
240.
You have permission to share at any time. So if you start hitting your share button, my my computer will just give in to you. So
Give me a minute, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, okay. It's actually 2:48 now in this particular version. Okay, let's see.
Oh,
I
wow.
think you may need to let me share. Okay, I can share content. Screen.
Wow. I have,
Can you see my screen?
let me see.
Yep.
Yes, I can see your screen. So good. You're in charge at this point. Okay.
Okay, so it's here. In this book, we have set down our prehistory up to that legally piggly part. Yeah.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
we got stuck there.
That's right. Okay.
And for saving the day.
All right. So we're up to, I think, we've chronicled the overall pattern of class 2 evolutionary events that have, during the last half century, gone critical, bringing humanity to a moment of crisis adequate in magnitude to springboard humanity into oblivion or into a relatively utopian future. Because automobiles were becoming ever more popular in the 1920s, and because they were using inherently exhaustible fossil fuels, such an approaching critical moment in human history as we are now experiencing was clearly visible to me and many others a half century ago. I did not, however, know of any other humans who thought there was anything that they personally could do about this problem and any other such too big problems. Nevertheless, I committed my life to dealing only with total spaceship Earth and all its passengers' regeneration. I have therefore included the chapter on the self-disciplines I adopted at 32 years of age. At the 1927 outset, or soon thereafter, of my lifetime commitment. These disciplines were adopted in view of the physical magnitude and the mathematical integrity involved in the balance of my life commitment. Many of the disciplines are importantly relevant today in respect to the way in which unknown, economically insecure, individual humans may function effectively in this world crisis. Soon after 1927, I developed the World Game as an especially important integration of the complex of self-adopted disciplines and tasks I found myself progressively adopting as the years passed, and as my inventory of discovered errors and lessons thereby learned multiplied. Our chapters on the geoscope and the World Game provide important frames of reference in the formulation of a critical path chart of what humanity must accomplish within a decade or probably perish. This last section of the book focuses on the critical path itself.
And constitutes, yeah.
Constitutes my own single human being's inherently limited 127 and thereafter anticipatory formulations of the order of absolutely essential tasks to be successfully accomplished between 1927 and the crossing of the epochal threshold into happy continuance of all humans in universe. Others can and will vastly improve upon my critical path. What is now needed, however, is an icebreaker critical path submission. Here it is in the order of my spontaneous formulations of it. In presenting it, I need first to develop, if possible, some powerfully integrating generalizations of already introduced concepts. For instance, we have developed the earlier concept of a system as dividing all the universe into all the universe outside the universe. The present tuned out, irrelevant macrocosm, all the universe inside the system, the presently untuned in irrelevant microcosm, and all the small remainder of the present individually tuned in universe of which the universe dividing system consists, together with all of its presently integrated common knowledge of tuned in omni-relevant considerations. Systems scientifically describe conceptual ramifications of thoughts and ideas. This omnicosmic four-dimensional.
Can you see it right at the top? this omnicosmic
Oh, yeah.
4-dimensional.
I've got my photo in front of it for some reason. Oh, yeah, that's better. 4-dimensional geometrical conception of a system is a scientific generalization. See System 400 in Synergetics Volumes 1 and 2. Human organisms are systems. They are complex but very important systems of energetically operative integral tools. Some of them are internally operative in manufacturing, maintaining, repairing and replacing the whole inventory of specialized interior as well as generalized exterior tools. All of the integral exterior tools, such as the human hand and eyes, have highly generalized but circumstantially limited capabilities. For instance, they cannot work nakedly above or below a very small temperature range, but within their temperature limits, their uses are myriad. Human mind.
Can we pause for a minute? Because I got lost here.
Okay.
I got lost.
So it's talking about our hands and our external.
I got lost at the paragraph before. You know what they talked when he talked about dividing the concept of a system as dividing all the universe into all the universe outside the system, which is the presently tuned out I don't get that. You know, what is macrocosm and the microcosm as Buckminster Fuller sees it and how he is defining the world. I cannot see that part, you know.
I think what he's saying is that there is the universe inside the system of planet Earth and us.
I see. Okay.
And outside of us and our system. Right? So he talks about the presently untuned and irrelevant microcosm and all the small remainder of the present individually tuned in universe. Right? So we're the small bit, together with all of its presently integrated common knowledge of tuned in omni-relevant considerations. So he's talking the thing about us. So human organisms are systems. And then he's talking about what's outside of us and particularly what's outside of Earth.
Okay,
That's how
okay.
Anyway.
Yeah. I was
If you
hoping the
think
next...
when I consider this, Anne, I look back on his circles of irrelevancy. And in his circles of irrelevancy, he explains the microcosm and the macro. So everything, I'm going to try and find those really fast. Because I agree with John. He's talking about the really small stuff. Then he's talking about us. And he doesn't say anything about the macrocosm at this juncture. He's talking about microcosm.
Right.
Yeah. So here's the chart.
Okay, I'll stop sharing so that you can share.
Well, you don't have to stop. I can just interrupt you, and then you just go ahead and stop when you're ready. And you just start sharing again when you're ready, okay?
Yeah, but I have to stop sharing so that you can share.
No, you don't.
I don't?
No. If you look, I'm already sharing.
It's just overruling you, Anne.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
My system is completely democratic, so anybody who wants to share can interrupt anybody else.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I went and pressed a button to make sure that anybody could share anytime they wanted to. So,
oh, wow.
And see, it works to my benefit sometimes too. But here's the non-conceptual microcosm inside here. And then right in here is this gray twilight zone of almost relevant. And then there's what's conceptually definite or definite, tunably synchronous, approximately simultaneous, and then everything outside of that is untunable. And I think that's what he was talking about. I may be wrong, but that's what I saw. And now you can go ahead and share because I'm going to stop sharing. And if you have comments, John or Anne, on maybe I missed the point, please.
No, I think that helps a lot. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So human organisms are systems. We'd read that. And we'd got down to
yeah, we are
hands and eyes.
No,
we're down.
I think we are at human mind.
Human mind, discovering principles, devises special case, less frequently employable, non-integrable from self-detached craft tools. In due course, human mind, discovering more principles, uses the organically integral tools to operate the simple detached craft tools, such as the stone, hammer, and knife, to produce much more effective generalized industrial tools, such as a blacksmith's forge and anvil, metal hammers and tongs, with which the smith in turn produces even more specialized tools, such as metal horseshoes and forged human carpenter's hammers, to outperform wooden mallets
And so
human mind, stimulated by the succession of experiences attendant on hitching an ox, a water buffalo, a camel, or an elephant to an earth-working tool, came to the discovery of the windmill and the water wheel, and then coupled the windmill or water mill with a grain grinding stone milling wheel, then in turn conceived of the principle of using energy other than human muscle to operate a class of tools known as the machine tools, consisting of lathes, drill presses, metal planners, milling machines, grinding machines, shapers, slotters, etc. Each such machine tool performs in far finer, more powerful degree the metallic substance forming and surface finishing functions initially performed in principle, but under much more limited conditions only by the human hands and other of the integral organic exterior tools.
Hey, can I say something here?
Yeah.
This to me, in fact, it's come to me several times as we've been reading Critical Path. It would almost be that this book could be studied just for this one idea. The way he looks at the logical development of technology based on the previous technology, like his chart on the development of the elements. I think a student learning how it took from 1250 until 15 something or 17 something to discover an element, and then how rapidly that curve occurs. I don't think that people understand how rapidly technology is moving and growing. We see it all around us. We don't understand it. But most people, I think I'm included, think that next week is going to be like last week. And it's just not going to be like last week. And if I'm asleep, it will be. But it's moving faster than I think it is. And I really like the way he logically builds on each one of these ideas. Just thank you for letting me insert that. And I think we can continue to read through this chapter through 251. That'll be a good break for us. We're at 9:36. Okay. Let's continue to finish.
All of the foregoing involves energy as work and as matter, and a complex of energy inter-exchanging. All such complex internal and external energy inter-transforming and exchanging can be spoken of as interior and exterior metabolics. We are gradually working toward a complex integration of many of our already introduced complex concepts into a generalization of interior and exterior ballistics, which is energy intertransforming and exchanging, can be spoken of as interior and exterior metabolics. How apt a name for the human organism is an interior and exterior metabolic system. We find that in these interior and exterior metabolic systems, the interior tooling is highly generalized, while the exterior tools are highly specialized and able to cope with many variables.
I'm not sure I understand that. We find that in these interior and exterior metabolic systems, the interior tooling is highly generalized. I would say that my kidney and my liver are very specialized. They work together in a generalized fashion.
The human being, our system supports our life, which is quite generalized as opposed to a hammer, which can only be used to drive something in.
Yeah, that's true. Okay,
so an
good.
exterior tool is going to be much more specific. While our body, our personal system, and well, in fact, Steve, I think there is an argument that the body is far more capable of regeneration than is generally or has been generally accepted. For example, there have been studies done now that's shown that if areas of the brain are left,
Yeah.
other parts of the brain that weren't designed for that can be retrained to fulfill the functions of the parts of the brain that have been destroyed.
Yeah, good point. Now I've distracted us from where we are, but Anne has put a
There's a-
red, so.
Yeah, that's why you can start with the sentence, because we were halfway through that sentence, you know. Mm.
Yeah, okay. We find that in these interior and exterior metabolic systems, the interior tooling is highly generalized, while the exterior tools are highly specialized and able to cope with many variables, but that the data regarding the different toolings vary hardly at all, which is to say that the more nearly generalized the system, the less variable the inventory of its constituents. Wherefore, the great scientific generalizations are eternal and never vary. We find in the succession of naval science and arts that the Navy Yard machine tools varied hardly at all, being improved upon only slowly, and that the number 2 science and art of designing fleets and ships and their integral interior ballistics varied more frequently than the design of the Navy Yard machine tools, whereas the exterior ballistics and navigation dealt with swiftly changing sea and weather conditions, though the navigational mathematics of spherical trigonometry itself consisted of eternally invariant generalized principles. We find our concept of industrialization to be an exterior to humans metabolic system. We find our critical path to consist of a succession of omni-relevant, frequently varying, widely ranging, highly specialized exterior metabolic systems being operated by humans, which humans themselves are limited range, rarely variant interior and exterior metabolic systems. In the self-disciplines chapter of this book, I recounted that the larger the number of humans I undertook to serve, the more effective I became, wherefore I concluded that if I committed myself to serving everyone, I would be optimally effective. I find the foregoing A to be sociologically akin to the hard science.
Oops, sorry, hold on.
Sorry.
Should. I have to get out of this, yeah. Give me a minute. I have to get out of the drawing part to turn to the next page. Okay.
It says akin to the hard science fact that astronomy
and astrophysics, dealing in total known universe, enjoy humanity's furthest ahead in time, reliable prognosticating record by a reliably proven prognosticated events margin of hundreds of years. There seems to be a scientific generalization at work here that relates intimately to the phenomena synergy, behavior of whole systems unprotected by the behavior or integral characteristics of any parts of the system when the parts are considered only separately. What is inferred here is that a competitive employment of the whole family of generalized principles employed to serve the successful human functioning in universe renders one maximally effective. All scientific generalizations are synergetic. That is, they describe scientifically discovered interrelationships of system parts that vary in respect to one another at only mathematically describable different rates of change, which interrelationships are in no way suggested by separate inspection of any one part of the system. The generalization discovered to be commonly operative in the foregoing paragraphs A, B, and C says, to be optimally effective, undertake at outset the most comprehensive task in the most comprehensive and incisively detailed manner.
Sorry. Yeah.
You know, since we're pausing, it seems to me that this conversation about effective altruism versus effective acceleration is right. That this conversation he's having is in the heart of that debate right now. And I don't think anybody that's looking at it is looking at it in terms of generalized principles, in terms of that synergy that comes out of generalized principles. Everybody's talking about it in terms of like a fragmented, branchial approach to solving a particular problem. They're not looking at it in terms of solving it from a system. Like, I want to have people in Africa healthier, so I'm going to earn $1 million so I can hire 10 doctors to go to Africa, to solve a problem, where Bucky's talking more like from a systems approach to it. And I think that's completely foreign, alien to this idea of effective altruism and effective acceleration. So anyway, and it's actually, I'm not understanding much of this at all. I've got big question marks going down page 250 and page 251 as he's as he's explaining his holistic systematic approach, like an engineer. I don't know. I think this idea of learning how to engineer a system is really profound, and that's what he's focusing on. I really liked item C up there above. I have exclamation points written by that on my book. I'm going to come back and look at what that is. There seems to be a scientific generalization at work here that relates intimately to the phenomena synergy, behavior of whole systems unpredicted by behavior of integral characteristics of any parts of the system when the parts are considered only separately. This is exactly the heart of EA and EAC relative to Bucky's approach right there. I think that's a critical aspect. Thank you for letting me just interject that. That's probably going to be my huge takeaway for today. And I don't mean to, so let's continue to read. We only got a little bit more to finish off this page. I don't know where we are either.
We're up to D. I think we're up to the generalization. Yeah. I don't think we've done D, have we, Anne?
Let's do D.
maybe we were halfway. We were halfway with D.
Yeah, the generalization discovered to be commonly operative in the foregoing paragraphs of A, B, and C says, to be optimally effective, undertake at outset the most comprehensive task in the most comprehensive and incisively detailed manner.
Yeah, we didn't read that, and that's exactly the point of this effective altruism versus effective acceleration, how they both of them have missed the point, according to D. Go ahead.
In undertaking our critical path development of a practically realizable means of bringing about all humanity's spontaneously realizable escape from fearfully ignorant self-destruction, an entrance into a design science artifacts produced and induced sustainable and unprecedentedly high standard of living for all, to be accomplished within a generation, we are being taught by the foregoing paragraphs A, B, C, D to immediately undertake the greatest task with thorough commitment of attention to every detail. We are being taught by all the foregoing to assume as closely as possible the viewpoint, the patience, and the competence of God.
Wow. Oh my God.
Wow.
Can we stop there, Steve? I think.
Yeah, let's do. That's a great punchline, and we're approaching our 0 hour. Yeah, in fact, that's going to be, John, how are you feeling? And what are your, the next, we go to chapter 8. Next page
I'm feeling strained in the brain.
Yeah.
Thank you for reading the whole time today.
Yeah, I wasn't at my very best. I felt I was losing it at times, but anyway, the brain has had a stretching. Yeah, I think I understand the overall, which is he committed his life completely to analysing and identifying the issues that were required to create the life we want for the world or to destroy ourselves.
Yeah.
Whew, it's one hell of an undertaking.
Yeah.
So I feel, look, I'm glad that we've done it. I'm glad I've done it with the two of you. I certainly could never and wouldn't want to do this by myself. You need to have somebody to bounce off and to sort of reconnect with, to have sort of some perspective. It's
Yeah.
some very big picture stuff. No, but good. I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we did it together. I'm grateful to you both for being here to do it. So yes, I shall go away pleased that I've done it, but not confident that I've understood it as fully as I might have. So,
yeah.
So Anne, how are you feeling? What are you taking out of today?
Thank you, John. Actually, I was like grappling with a lot of the things that are being said because it's very big picture, and this is one of those chapters he really didn't go down to precise examples of details of what he's referring to, right? But I want to say, Steve, that last bit that when you spoke just after D, right before we went on to the last two paragraphs, you just gave me the answer to what I need to speak about to my whole entire team. So next 2 weeks from now, the second Tuesday from now, we're having a whole school-wide meeting, right? And because of what we are doing, we've been growing our people. And traditionally, education keeps people with the skills very low, right? So my people have grown. They've taken on a lot of the skills we throw at them. But the one that really throws them off is the leadership part, you know? Everybody seems to think they understand leadership, but until they actually are in the roles of being a leader and trying to make a difference and managing people, that is where it starts to fall apart for some of them, right? Wait, let me get out of this. Sorry, let me get out of this. And I just want to say that, Steve, now let me share with you what I mean. I have people that we put into, like, say, the head of a subject, right? And I realized this past few years is the people doing the science, my science subjects, the head of sciences, that like they have a lot to process with the submissions of exam papers, so that they have to vet, so that we make sure that the levels are correct and the information is accurate and so on, right? So the work during that point is a lot. And so they're like, it's not worth it. Okay, they're coming from the space of them doing the job, and it's not worth it. So we've been like having a couple of the leaders, only the sciences, not the humanities side, you know, wanting to step down. It's the sciences and the math. And I realized something. None of them came from the space of, so what can we do about it? What can we do to simplify the exams, right, in a manner that is easy to create and easy to assess and easy to vet, right? So instead of doing that, and they're scientists. Scientists are supposed to look for solutions, right? You know, and ephemeralization is it. Okay, exam systems are the most laborious and slow. What we did with our English exam was, all we need to do is put 2 questions in there, and they're essays. And the essays actually test everything. It tests comprehension, it tests your ability to write, it tests grammar, everything in one fell swoop, including use of vocabulary. You don't need to do comprehension and all that, right? It's all there. So we created in that manner so that from primary 1, the kids are already writing. But the science people don't think that way. It's only a 1-hour paper, right? And you just need to sit down together and see how to simplify the exams and how to simplify the writing of the paper. And none of them have approached any of us to say, hey, we need a solution, we need a bit of help here, can we sit together and brainstorm? No. What they did is they step up. So Steve, the minute you said that, I realized that when I speak to the team on Tuesday, I have to talk to them about a system. They're part of a system, right? And they're thinking of an individual, and what Bucky talks about, that the more he thinks of serving the larger community, the more productive and I think more impactful he becomes, right? So they might, instead of looking at solving the issue within the system, they let the system beat them, and then they say, no, I'm done, I don't want to do it. Okay, and I really like that when you said that. So I've taken it down in this one. You said effective altruism. I like that. Effective altruism. So looking at the system rather than one individual, one little component part of it. you know, and I got to start training people to think that way. Because whether they stay in our organization or not, the minute they want to go higher up into any organization, they need to know how to think like this. Wow. Thank you.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah.
you,
So
Anne.
Steve, yeah. What how do you feel and what is your takeaway?
Okay, so I'm going to send out to all of you guys. If I hadn't been so distracted by my computer, I would have sent you links to effective altruism and effective acceleration, which are the two big issues. But both of those seem to be going in, they're going in these opposite directions, and they're leaving in other words, we're going to make people healthy, and the way we're going to do is we're going to send doctors to Africa instead of just making the health system work better. Does that make sense? So I'm going to send you those links to see if you can pull anything out of there. So that way you can drop these names of these, you know, effective altruism and these trends of philosophy that are happening today and bring people back to getting the system to work and working together. So see what you can do with that. I'm just real thrilled. I also agree with John that to read this on my own, I probably wouldn't finish reading it. I probably would get so swamped in something and I would just get swamped. So I'm really grateful that we're reading this together. I'm grateful for your guys' enthusiasm and particularly for John today for his persistence at continuing to read, you know, as much as going on for him. I've actually been in situations where I was so relaxed that I had trouble keeping, that I would fall asleep when I was reading, right? And I don't know what's going on exactly for John, but it's pretty close there, I'm pretty sure. So I'm grateful for each of you. And it's too bad Joe wasn't here to hear all about this naval stuff because he's got opinions on that too. So we'll pick him up next time. But we're starting at chapter 8. Next week, we'll be starting at part 2 of chapter 8, and everything's perfect. Good. Thank you guys very much, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Well, you may or may not, I'll let you know.
Yeah, okay. And Steve, you said effective altruism and effective what? What's the other one?
Acceleration. It's called EA is the term used for effective altruism, and EAC, E/ACC for effective acceleration. And Joe and I have been having a conversation about that over the last little bit, and I thought Joe's been missing the point. So I've been sending Joe some correlating stuff. I'll send you a copy of the emails I've sent to him, and that way you can look at the, there's a couple of podcasts. Gee, lucky you have 2 weeks, because there's a couple of hour-and-a-half podcasts where these two guys, where Lex Friedman at MIT is interviewing these other guys who like are brilliant AI people, and I'll send you all those links.
Okay, thank you very much.
I love giving you a little information. I love what you're doing out there in the universe, and I'm so glad I don't have your job. I'm too tired.
Yeah, it is. They are handling, training them is exhausting. Right. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Alrighty, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.